Do you think Biden could do this interview? Do you think that Kamala could do this interview? They would take a pass on you.
No, they could not.
So they don't need Elon. They don't need Elon screaming out questions. It's pretty sad when you think that somebody that does this for a living can't answer a question or is afraid to do an interview.
Yeah, it ought to be a little disturbing, but, the White House press corps, they want the President of the United States to trample free speech. The Washington Post, Cleve Wooten, is not a defender of the First Amendment or of free speech. He's an enemy of the First Amendment and free speech. He's the Washington Post White House correspondent. White House Correspondents Association is not what it used to be. Hee-yah! Well, happy Tuesday and welcome back. In fact, free speech is under assault everywhere you look. The European Union, as it is laughingly known, since they all actually hate each other, and all of human history is the story of warfare between members of the European Union. Most of our fathers and grandfathers deployed to put an end to their mayhem in Europe. Warmongering bunch that they are. Yeah, so Cleve Wooten, the Washington Post, on the White House briefing yesterday with Raggedy Ann, saying, isn't there something the president can do to stop Elon Musk from interviewing Donald Trump? And the Washington Post, they think that's a good idea. Yeah, hey, why didn't we think of that? Maybe the president could use his governmental powers to stop free speech between one of the world's richest men, Elon Musk, who owns X, formerly known, shut up, and Donald Trump, the former president of the United States. The Washington Post is advocating putting a stop to that. Got to put a stop. Our news media is third world filth, banana republic filth. You're supposed to be the stalwart defenders of free speech and the First Amendment, but you, of course, are not. In the meantime, and in between time, ain't we got fun? Here is Nigel Farage in the United Kingdom saying that the Prime Minister there, Starmer, the headline is from the Telegraph, Starmer, the British Prime Minister, greatest threat to free speech in British history. And pretty much true. A Rwandan 17-year-old murdered 3 little girls at a dance party a little more than a week ago. And the response of the left in the UK is to trample free speech because that's what they do. Also, the National Review with their story, Free Speech in Britain, Readying the Ratchet. Readying the Ratchet, they're cracking down on free speech because they're not liberals. They're the left, just like the Democrat Party here. In fact, we've got a vice president in Minnesota. I played the audio for you last week. Vice president in Minnesota who is running for a governor, in Minnesota, who's now running for vice president. And I played the audio last week hey, free speech doesn't apply to what the Democrat Party calls hate speech. We'll stop that. So they're the left also. They're not liberals and they're waging war against free speech. In the meantime, and this is where I started, there is a member of the European Union, a European Union commissioner who is all Francais. He is French, and Thierry Breton. And the EU warns Elon Musk ahead of Trump interview to keep hate speech off of X. Now, left-wing radicals in places like France will then determine the arrogance of power. They will determine what is hate speech and what is not hate speech, right? That's the thing about hate speech and regulating speech is it's fascist, you see. And these people that call themselves liberals, of course, Adolf Hitler said that he was the head of the Socialist Workers' Party of Germany, and Joseph Stalin was the head of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. And but never mind that. History is not our guide, is it? So the European Commission on Monday, that's yesterday, warned X Corp, that's Elon Musk and formerly known as Twitter, warned X Corp owner Elon Musk, they warned him, and the CEO, Linda Yaccarino, that the company may face penalties and restrictions in Europe if it doesn't address the spread of illegal content. This is speech. This is freedom of speech. It's one of the fundamental bedrock principles of civilization itself. But the left, they're fascists, you see, and they don't believe in free speech. And in the United States, the Democrat Party doesn't believe in free speech. And they don't believe in the Bill of Rights, and they don't believe in your ability to freely practice your religion or free speech or assemble unless it's them. And they're going to be rioting in Chicago. Is that next week? It's coming up pretty soon. They're going to be rioting and looting and burning and attacking the place because it's what the fascists do. The mobs in the street, they call themselves Democrats. Remarkable stuff. So the European Commission on Monday warned Elon Musk and the CEO at X that they could face penalties and restrictions in Europe if they don't address the spread of illegal content. That's the actual language being used here. CNBC, pretty amazing stuff, including incitements to violence and hate speech. Joe Biden's been doing a lot of that for the last few years. And, we keep getting suicide attacks against Republicans like Steve Scalise and Donald Trump. And, how many Democrats have to shoot how many people before the Democrat Party is outlawed? Got to ban the under their own rules, just under their own rules. So this radical, this European Commissioner, Thierry Breton, is saying, I'm writing you now in the context of the recent events in the United Kingdom, where a Rwandan 17-year-old murdered 3 little girls with a big knife and wounded 9 more because he's anti-Western, just like the left. So I'm writing you in the context of the recent events in the United Kingdom in relation to the planned broadcast on your platform X of a live conversation between a U.S. presidential candidate and yourself. He can't bring himself to use Trump's name, right? Because he's a hate-filled lefty. And next time, I got to say, Russia and Ukraine are at war, and Europe is cracking down on free speech. Maybe it's just time to let them sort it out themselves. And this time when Europe goes to war against their neighbors, the Europeans against Europeans, maybe we just let them sort it out, see how long that takes. Putin might move in. Oh, no, Putin is the big, you're pro-Putin, you're a Putin shill. Yeah, shove it. How about that? So Terry Britton, European Commissioner for the Internal Market, wrote in a letter that was posted Monday, ironically, on X. Isn't that kind of, it should be cited as an example of hate speech and pulled off of X, and he should be banned by Elon Musk, don't you think? And the entire European Union should be banned by X because they're fascists, and that should be the thing there. We are monitoring the potential risks in the EU, associated with dissemination of content that may incite violence, hate, and racism. Really? Racism? You listen, you slave ship boy? You kidding me? Come back and clean up Haiti. How about that, French boy? Just a thought. So, and racism in conjunction with major political or societal events around the world, including debates and interviews in the context of elections, wrote Thierry Breton. Now, I therefore urge you to promptly ensure the effectiveness of your systems and to report measures taken to my team. Hey, listen, EU boy, you can jam it so far. Honestly, you little fascist. My father went over there and dropped bombs on France, and my grandfather went over there bayonet affixed in World War I and trench warfare and all that good stuff. Purple Heart. Maybe we should have just left you to the Soviets. Maybe because you're already there, you little Soviet fascist. And but that's so. Yeah, you need to take. Elon Musk and X need to take steps to trample free speech and then report to your French ass. Are you kidding me? You're fired. It's the boxcars for you. We're going to turn you over to Vichy again. Just amazing stuff. Breton warned Musk, I don't like those words all by themselves, that the EU was prepared to make full use of our toolbox. Your toolbox, I think I know what's in your toolbox. I think, honestly, it was in Matt Lauer's closet. To protect EU citizens from serious harm. Honestly, should we leave you to the Chinese this time or just to Putin? Maybe the Germans will rise again and you guys can collaborate again because amazing stuff. Given X Corp's reported 300 million users worldwide, of which 1/3 are based in the EU, X is designated as a very large online platform. That's in quotation marks. No kidding. Nothing gets by you guys, huh? With legal obligation to follow European laws and specifically the Digital Services Act, wrote Britain. They've got a Digital Services Act. Is that what happens when you get under the blanket with Joe Biden? Because I'm not sure what they mean by that. That's probably a law that they passed. Isn't that amazing? So that's a remarkable story. It most definitely is. And also Nigel Farage writing in The Telegraph out of the United Kingdom. Starmer, the Prime Minister in Great Britain, greatest threat to free speech in British history. Reform UK leader accuses Prime Minister of wanting to use recent far-right riots to restrict civil liberties. It's always the way that it goes, isn't it? It's what they do. And they call themselves liberals, but they're not. They're lefties. So we got a bit of that going on. We got some of this and some of that. And that all springing from Elon Musk's interview with Donald Trump last night, which aired live on X after about 40 minutes of an attack on Elon Musk's streaming, his ability to stream the interview, because the left is a violent mob of looters and arsonists and destructo queens and cross-dressers, which is why I didn't say destructo kings, but destructo queens. So remarkable things going on there. And I do have plenty from the President Trump interview. It went on for 2 hours with Elon Musk, and it was a humdinger. Can you say humdinger, or will Democrats find that to be racially insensitive? Because they're really screwed up, aren't they? But I gotta say, I've heard a lot about this morning. The headline: Washington Post reporter asks White House to stop Elon Musk's Trump interview because they're not liberals, they're fascists. All right, and then Elon Musk explains a cyber attack disrupted Trump interview. That could be the Iranians or the North Koreans or Putin's Russia or the Chinese communists. But in all probability, it's American leftists. It's an orchestrated attack, a cyber attack that disrupted the interview. You got this fascist in France who thinks he's a liberal threatening the American president and an African-American. He's from South Africa, Elon Musk, African-American industrialist and centibillionaire, threatening him with sanctions and punishment if he doesn't bow to the little fascist Frenchman in France, who I think dresses like a pixie and dances around. But we've got that going. And then the cyber attack, pretty interesting stuff. And the news media, they're very upset on the left, but I repeat myself. Trump insults Biden as close to vegetable stage during interview with Elon Musk. The guy could barely walk. So you see, that's what they call hate speech that has to be regulated because you can't mock them. You can't ridicule them. They are the all-powerful Oz. They are the all-powerful state. And they will tell you what is hate speech and what, it's the only thing not to be tolerated is intolerance. And they will tell you what is intolerant and they will ban it because they are actually the intolerant ones. No sense of irony, these people. And the Harris campaign bashes the Trump-Musk interview, and naturally they do. Did they burn any police cars and loot any businesses? Did they shoot anybody yet? No, the Trump-Musk interview is a self-obsessed rich guys who cannot run a live stream. That's how you know it's the left that disrupted it because, they're not well. Speaking of crime, and Democrats, illegal aliens raping women and stabbing people and murdering people in New York and across the country because the Democrats love open borders and don't love the English-speaking world. Also, are you tracking the news about the looming nuclear war? See, the left is in charge of everything, so the good news is getting harder and harder to find. Hate crimes against Jews in New York and beyond, all by Democrats. More stabbings, and we got a prison sentence for one of them. That kind of surprised me, I got to say. Ilhan Omar has a primary election today. Will she be thrown out like the other Radical Squad members? And your calls at 888-630-9625. Yes, Donald Trump campaign office burglarized in Virginia. Sounds like Watergate, doesn't it? Officials release photo of suspect who is white. Every story wants to tell you that he's white. Just like the Watergate break-in. A burglary is reported at a Trump campaign office in Virginia, and the news media will treat it like it's, a parking violation because it's just the Trump campaign office. And, wait till you hear the Washington Post guy trying to trample free speech because he's a political fascist. Cleve Wooten is his name. Sieg Heil Cleve Wooten. Let's take a phone call, Michael. Let's go to Jeff calling from Hagerstown, Maryland. Jeffrey, you're on the Chris Plant Show. Jeffrey, Jeff is not there. Jeff and no home. Hey, Jeff, where'd you go? Jeff said, what's going to have to happen for Trump to get reelected? For Trump to get elected again, what's going to have to happen? Well, American democracy is going to have to stay alive. The Democrats keep saying they're going to save democracy, and they've got to do that by destroying their political enemies and keeping anybody that's not them off of the ballot, right? And then having lots of mail-out ballots that go to illegal aliens who they give driver's licenses to and send ballots to buildings where they harvest the ballots and then have people with surgical gloves stuffing ballot boxes late at night in various locations. What's going to happen? We're going to have to save democracy in order to save it, you see. The Democrat Party, they, like the old Vietnam War line, they have to destroy democracy in order to save it. Their definition of save. They use the words, but they don't know what they mean. No. It was June 17th of 1972 that 5 burglars broke in to the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate complex in Washington, D.C. That became kind of a big scandal, didn't it? I think that was kind of a big deal. Well, yesterday, Trump campaign office in Virginia burglarized. And sheriff investigating burglary at Trump campaign office in Virginia. The sheriff is investigating. Where's the FBI? Shouldn't the FBI? Michael and I were talking about this morning. Michael said, well, it was the FBI that broke in to the Trump campaign headquarters. So naturally, they're not going to be investigating it. It would be good if they did, though, because then the fix would be in. See? I'm like going like this, stroking the right nostril with the right index fingertip, like in The Sting, because the fix is in. Burglar breaks into Trump campaign office in Ashburn, Virginia, and break-in reported at Trump campaign office in Virginia. There are a lot of headlines about it. Now, whether the news media will actually pay any attention to it beyond today is another question. They do want you to know that there is security camera, at least photograph, if not video, and it shows that the alleged perpetrator is white, is European Caucasian, allegedly. So the NBC fake news people, Loudoun County Sheriff's Office, said, you can't trust them, it's investigating whether anything was stolen. as well as the identity of a person who was captured on security video. And Zoe Richards typing at NBC Fake News on behalf of the Democrat Party. Authorities in a Virginia suburb of Washington, D.C. said Monday that they are investigating a break-in at a campaign office of former President Donald Trump. The Loudoun County Sheriff's Office said in a news release that deputies were contacted at roughly 9 p.m. Eastern Time Sunday and noted that security video had captured a person dressed in dark clothing. If you're going to burgle a campaign headquarters, I recommend that you wear dark clothing because it's appropriate, don't you think? And it's at night on Sunday. So dressed in dark clothing with a dark cap and a backpack. Well, usually when you burgle with dark clothing and a dark hat and a backpack, you bring the backpack. Why do you bring the backpack, Michael? To put the stuff in, the stuff that you're stealing. See? Why else would you bring a backpack? It'd just get in your way if you're not planning on stealing stuff. And you plan on stealing stuff this big, papers, documents, and laptops, computers, things like that. The campaign office in Ashburn, about 30 miles northwest of Washington, is being leased by the Trump campaign, and the state's 10th District Republican Committee is also headquartered there, the sheriff's office said. Here's a picture of the white guy. If you knew him, you'd recognize him because it's a good enough picture. He's got a black baseball cap, very short hair person, and he didn't shave on Sunday, at least around the goatee area like that. He's being sought by authorities. And I love this. It is rare to have the office of any political campaign or party broken into. It is. It's fairly rare. Now, I remember there was one in 1972, and that turned into kind of a big deal. Loudoun County Sheriff Mike Chapman said in a statement, "We are determined to identify the suspect, investigate why it happened, and determine what may have been taken as well as what may have been left behind." Oh, did they leave anything behind? Did he go in there and wiretap? See, he could have been, because, the Obama administration, they used the FISA courts to spy on the Trump campaign, and they got wiretap authority, and they monitored emails and text messages and phone messages, as they did on many other people. James Rosen, now of Newsmax, then of Fox News, James Risen of the New York Times, the Associated Press in Washington. They spied on a lot of people. They hacked into the Barack Obama's corrupt CIA, hacked into the Senate Intelligence Committee's computers, and they spied on them. And then John Brennan lied to them about it, but there are no consequences for him. The consequences are several multi-million-dollar jobs because we live in a filthy, corrupt city with lots of corrupt people, and our country is becoming corrupted by these left-wing people. John Brennan, of course, famously voted for the Communist Party candidate for President of the United States. Reached for further comment, a spokesperson without a gender for the sheriff's office said investigators would provide more details as early as tomorrow. That'd be today. After they identify the person and that additional intelligence units were there now investigating whether anything was taken or left and the motivation. See, or left is a good point because it's politics, and the creepy people, they spy on people and things like that. This guy, I think, suffers from low IQ, though, because there are cameras everywhere, and everybody knows that. And if you're going to go into burgle a political headquarters in Virginia outside of Washington, D.C., with your black baseball cap, the guy, he looks like he could pass for a normal person. But we'll see, because he's burgling the Trump political headquarters. Now, where's the wall-to-wall, bumper-to-bumper, panicked, table-pounding CNN coverage of this obvious knockoff of the Watergate scandal decades ago? Where are the reporters that are going to make their careers based on the reporting on this? The FBI said Monday that it is investigating the alleged, whether this is a separate issue, because in addition to the burglary, Trump's campaign said over the weekend on Saturday that an Iranian group had hacked the Trump organization, Iranians, and they get their money from the Democrats, from Barack Obama and Joe Biden. That's no joke, as Joe Biden would say. So they were hacked by an Iranian group in June, around the time that Trump was selecting his running mate. And the FBI said that on Monday, just yesterday, that they are investigating the alleged hack of the Trump campaign. They won't say it's Iran because, the Biden administration of the Democrats are in bed with Iran, which is kind of wackadoodle-doo. But never mind that. A source familiar with the matter said the FBI Bureau is also investigating attempted hacks, I love this, of 3 Biden-Harris campaign staffers and former Trump advisor Roger Stone, which were first reported by the Washington Post. And they got to say, it's not just Trump that was hacked by the Iranians. The FBI is also investigating some Biden people were hacked too. See, we've been hacked. Amazing. Democrat world. Now, who's hacking and who's burgling the Trump? Democrats and Democrat allies. That's who. Speaking of Democrats and Democrat allies, the front page of the Washington Times today, above the fold. Drugs put children to sleep for smuggling across border. Yeah, roofies for the kids. Drivers want to keep them seen and not heard. That's a good old saying, children are to be seen and not heard. That's a good thing. So they drugged them. Irving Alberto had 2 children in his Tesla. Drove into Otay Mesa border crossing in California. And the officers became suspicious when he couldn't produce birth certificate or even any photos on his phone of the girl sleeping in the car seat. See, because they're child sexual predators, and they're drugging and kidnapping and smuggling and then selling the children for nefarious sexual reasons to Democrats here in the United States. Because, when they play duck, duck, goose, it's not the game that it used to be. Let me just say that. All right, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Tom, who's calling from the great state of Maryland. Tom, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Tom.
Thanks for taking my call. Cheers to you and all your success. My comment/question, I'd like to get some comments from you, is this. My sense is that all of this deceit, chaos, and corruption in the quote-unquote spirit of transforming America is, in my belief, really pushing America down to get a one-world order going where we, meaning we the people of the United States, are governed like the rest of the people in the world, and somebody will just have a global order that we all have to align to. And I'd like to get your commentary on that. Thank you, sir.
Well, sure, and you can hang in there if you'd like. I think you're onto something here. I don't think there's any doubt that you're onto something here. I started out this morning talking about free speech being under attack in Great Britain, and this arrogant EU commissioner, we'll just call him the commissar, who is French of all things. He should really sit down and, dress like his grandmother and stay quiet, and maybe we'll keep them safe for another generation if they're lucky. Listen, Tom, the worldwide left, the global left, is on a tear, and the target of the worldwide left, the most passionate target for generations now, has been the United States of America. They're anti-capitalist, they're anti-freedom, they're anti-free speech, they're anti-free practice of religion, they're certainly anti-Second Amendment. And if you look, Tom, at today's Democratic Party, everything that today's Democrat Party represents dovetails perfectly with the worldwide left and their construct, which is anti-human liberty, anti-human freedom. They are here to snuff out the light shining on the hill that is the light of liberty in the United States of America. And the Democrat Party, I've said this before, Tom, and maybe I don't say it frequently enough. I believe that the Democrat Party is the most dangerous organization on the planet Earth right now. The Chinese communists have a 100-year plan for conquering the planet Earth and enslaving the planet Earth. And, we'll all just be Uyghurs to them. We'll be sewing gym shoes. Who they're going to sell them to, I don't know, but they'll sort that out later, or they won't. They don't care. The Chinese Communists, the most murderous regime in the history of humankind. At least 50 million of their own people murdered. 75 million is probably a better operating number based on scholarly research on the matter. And the American left is here, again, with the Squad and the socialist the Socialist Workers' Party. That's Adolf Hitler. It's the so-called Democratic Socialists of Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar, and the news media propping them up like this is perfectly normal, wholesome American political speech, when, of course, it's not. Tom, the struggle between the darkness and the light, between good and evil, is plain as day for anyone to see, and we're watching it in real time right now, right before our eyes, Tom, and that's what we're watching. And honestly, the Democrats have gone over to the dark side, haven't they?
They sure have. And it's there's a couple of comments, Chris, if you don't mind.
Of course.
One is, I really believe in my heart of hearts, at least I want to believe, that there are people on the Democrat side that are well-intended. And my hope is that they're waking up to, wow, this is not really what I wanted the Democrat side of America to turn out to be, number one. And number two, I'd like to get your commentary on a very simple analogy of the frog in a pot of boiling water.
Yeah. Right?
At some point in time, it's going to get too hot, and we're not going to be able to jump out of the water, and we're just going to, melt away. And I don't know where we are with this whole thing. And it's, I speak from my heart as I'm concerned as a grandparent of 5 young little kids. Like, what is their world going to look like in 50 years?
Yeah. Well, and that's it. We are supposed to preserve the freedoms and the liberties that we were gifted by birthright, being born in the United States of America. And we are supposed to leave the world in better shape than the condition in which we found it. And I've got to say, that is very much in jeopardy right now, Tom. What we are passing on to the next generation and to your 5 grandkids may not resemble the America that we grew up in. And look, the left, Barack Obama, promised or threatened, depending on your perspective, the fundamental transformation of America. And the mob of glassy-eyed zombies cheered like this was the greatest thing they had ever heard. And this, we're watching the fundamental transformation of America. He also told us that we better teach our kids to speak Spanish, and he didn't explain. But again, Barack Obama was mentored by a card-carrying member of the Communist Party as a young man. He is a Saul Alinsky acolyte, just like Hillary Clinton. These guys don't have American values. They don't represent.
They really don't.
Yeah.
Chris, they really don't. And I'll leave you with this thought. I'm driving north to New Jersey to pick up my mother.
Uh-huh.
My brother lives up North Jersey, and her name is Eleonora Liberata. Liberata for liberty is her middle name. She's an Italian daughter of immigrants that came over from the United States, and she's 97. It's going to be 97 in March.
Wow.
And my dad, who passed away, was a World War II veteran. And to your point, the world that they left to us meaning my brother and I, and now our families, was better off than it was when they were running through their life, right?
Yep.
And I don't know if I can say the same for my grandkids if we continue on this collision course with disaster. Thanks for taking my call. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, you bet, Tom. You're on to it. You've got it all right. There is no doubt about it. And the threat has been hanging out there.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
That was not an idle threat. He didn't say he was going to make it better. Just fundamentally transform, to make unrecognizable. And the left is here. The left, they're not the freedom people. They're not the liberty people. And this is what conservatism is all about, is conserving and saving what is good, Western civilization, and making it better for the next generation. We're going in reverse now. Ilhan Omar has a primary today in Minnesota. Might be another indicator as to which way the wind is blowing.
Instead of worrying about whether immigrants can learn English, they'll learn English. You need to make sure your child can speak Spanish.
And we're standing by for Iran to launch a major attack against Israel. Talk between Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine invading Russia now. Is that allowed in this? I think that's allowed, right? Invading Kursk, site of one of the most horrendous battles in the history of the world during World War II, the Battle of Kursk, where the Soviets turned around the Nazis, but at a horrible cost. A bloodbath, a real bloodbath, not like the auto industry under Joe Biden, as Donald Trump was talking about. Also, the Soviet Union made a nuclear submarine called the Kursk, and then it blew up and sunk to the bottom of the ocean with, like 118 guys on board, and they all died because submarines, never mind that Hunt for Red October movie, submarines are hard. And the Soviet Union and the Russians, they're not as good at all this stuff as we are. We're better at it because, the patriarchy, something like that. We're real good. Real good, I'm telling you. Yeah, the Washington Post today also, in Senate, Harris took spotlight as a Trump foil. It's another glowing story on the front page of the Washington Post today about how great Kamala Harris is. And when she was in the Senate, where nobody noticed her at all, she was a foil to Trump. But that's not true. That's misinformation. I think that's disinformation. Might even be hate speech.